Hello and welcome. In this Qucamba Reports video tutorial, you will learn how to use the Label Report wizard to create a new report for the output of address labels for Microsoft Dynamics NAV. To start the wizard, click on the Labels tab in the Register Create. In the following example, we want to create a new report which outputs address labels for customers. Along with the customer's address, we also want to include our company's return address. On the first wizard page, we can determine the basic look of the report. First, we need to select an appropriate list template. As we want to create address labels, we use the QR label list address template. I then have to select the template from the drop-down list. In this template, the return address information, which in our case will be our company address, is displayed above, and below is a placeholder for displaying the formatted address of any entity. Qucamba Reports has identified all available object IDs and provides them in the range of our profile now for our selection. In this case, we're going to use the ID 50002 for our report. The name of our report needs to be in English. So here I'll use customer labels. And for the local name, it will be the corresponding German translation, Debitor Etiketten. In the right column, you are free to specify the layout of your adhesive label sheet according to the rows and columns it has. You also have the possibility here to decide whether to set the dimensions in centimeters, points, picas, inches, or millimeters. The default setting is in centimeters. For the output of our address, we'll go ahead and stick with the default settings for a standard label sheet. In our case, we have a label which is 8.5 centimeters wide and 4 centimeters high, and the sheet has 7 label columns with a spacing between the lines of 0 centimeters. There are 2 labels next to one another in each row with 0 spacing between as well, and the page margins, that is the distance between the border of the page and the label, is 2.22 centimeters to the left side, 0.85 centimeters above, 1.78 centimeters to the right side, and 0.85 centimeters below. These settings give you the flexibility to decide what your output document will look like. With next, I proceed to the following step. On the second step, you can select the table from which the address information is to be obtained. In our case, it's the customer table. Therefore, I expand the master table section and double-click the customer table. Alternatively, I could have pressed F3 or used the Add button too. I click on Next to proceed to the following wizard page. On this page, I can select the fields which I want to be included in the output. As you can see, the number field is selected by default as the report requires this later internally. We'll leave it like it is. We naturally want to format the address of the customer, but we'll get to that later. So that means if I don't need any additional fields beside the customer's address, I'm done with this wizard step. With next, I proceed to the following page, and as you can see, we're already on page 5, the second to the last wizard step. Here in the right pane are the individual fields which in addition to the address will be included on the label. In our case, it's only the number field. As I'm sure you can remember in the previous step, we left this field enabled. If I now decide, however, that I only need the address and not the customer's number, I can easily remove it by marking it and clicking on the Delete button. With that, the selection of the output fields is nearly completed so that we can click on Next to proceed to the final step. On the last wizard page, I still have the possibility to change the ID or the name of the report to include a version list prefix for the project. And most importantly, we can also format the address from this customer according to his country. Against this background, Qucamba Reports has analyzed all NAV code units and determined the appropriate address formatting functions. If you had already created your own code unit with an appropriate address formatting function for a customer record, it would have appeared in this list as well. The list contains all functions that have a signature similar to those in the standard code unit 365 and that are related to the selected data item, in this case the customer table. Furthermore, you may create this function right now, and as soon as you reopen the drop-down list, it'll show your newly added function as well. Here we'll use the format address function code unit 365. So with that, we've completed inputting the information and can now create the report by clicking on the Finish button. As you can see in the background, the report is now being transmitted to the NAV database, where it is compiled, after which it is then immediately available for use. When I now switch to Seaside in the design environment of NAV, I can see that our report Customer Labels is listed in the report area, and after it is marked, I can start it by clicking on Run. The reports request page opens. What's special about Qucamba label reports is that in this report you are free to determine where the print of this page should begin. In the first step, we defined a number of labels per row and column. We specifically defined 2 labels per row and 7 rows per page. In our example, we have a label sheet from which 3 labels have already been printed and peeled off. Thus, the print should commence beginning on the second line with the second label. In the preview, you can immediately see the effect. I'll switch directly to the print layout so that you can see it exactly. We said that we didn't want anything to be in the first row. The print should begin in the second column of the second row. And there it is. The print will begin at this point because, as we discussed, perhaps the first 3 labels have already been used. When I go to the second page, you can see that it begins like normal on the first row. So that's the end of this tutorial. As you've just seen with Qucamba Reports, it's not only quick and easy to create address labels, but this mechanism allows you to reuse existing label sheets by specifying the print settings for the available labels. If you want to learn more about Qucamba Reports, please check out our other videos. Thanks again for watching.